Whether it's anime, manga, visual novels, or any other medium, there are always those particular character types and plot devices you see very frequently. These elements help shape the identity of the work you are consuming and help create a sense of expectation and its familiarity. There comes a point, however, where these devices stop being original and impactful and end up becoming cliche and stereotypical due to its overused nature. Welcome to the August Hail. I'm August, and today I'm going to talk about 5 tropes I hate in visual novels and why I don't like these particular tropes. And hopefully, I can help you identify what tropes and cliches you dislike as well. With that said, let's begin. To start off, we have a trope that is very commonplace, especially in romance visual novels. Presenting number 5, blank slate main characters. These are the main characters in visual novel that have no semblance of personality besides the average good guy type, and yet all of the girls are attracted to this dense piece of cardboard. Extra points if he has this particular haircut. I can understand the reason why these types of personalities exist. They're meant for the reader to self-insert into the main character and to emulate the experience of having the heroines fall for them. For the people who like self-inserting, I have nothing against them. It's perfectly fine. It's just that I get a bit uncomfortable when I self-insert and they start calling out my behaviors. In general, I don't insert when I'm reading a visual novel. I enjoy following characters on their journey as they go through all of their victories and struggles, and all their various emotions when dealing with situations. Watching these characters makes the experience much more enjoyable for me, especially if I can empathize with their relatable personality, personal conflict, or their endearing character traits. The prerequisite for that, however, is that they need to have built-in character strengths and flaws. And believe me, it's much harder to do that when the main character is a blank canvas. There is some potential in having a blank canvas main character. With the type of narrative visual novels present, they offer readers choices for them to pick their own routes and stories they want to experience. And with the amount of choices the visual novel can offer, these decisions can shape the main character's personality and as a result affect the main story. However, I find that these visual novels have choices that only operate as a mechanic for selecting a heroine's route with no effect on the main character. Overall, I would like my main characters to have personality and backbone. He could be a complete degenerate or an absolute asshole. At least give me a reason to feel some sort of emotion towards them. And best case, they're memorable for all the wrong reasons. Speaking of irrational emotion towards characters, this one particular character trope / archetype makes me groan through every single dumb moment they appear on screen. Presenting number 4, bad role model adult figures. Usually in a supporting role, adults can be a great pivotal character. As the oldest characters in the cast, an adult can provide advice to the main character from a grown-up perspective, either as wisdom or experience. Well, given that the parents are actually present in the story and aren't mysteriously gone. That or dead. But the worst type of adults are the ones that are simply there to insert a bad joke, otherwise known as the comic relief characters. I don't like characters who are specifically designed to be walking joke machines, because that's usually all that they're there for. No interaction with the plot, no enlightening exploration of another character, and no actual character development themselves. It doesn't help that they are the target of the joke as well, lowering their value as a decent human being. You could remove them from the story, and the story wouldn't change one bit. And the specific archetype I see out of all of the adults I've seen in visual novels, it's the older single woman in their 20s to 30s who can't get a good date and spend all their time drinking beer. I'm tired of this type of comic relief character because it's so specific that it leaves no other possible avenue for jokes besides their illogical actions in their drunken state. The drunken also gets shit on by the other characters in the cast, making the younger students appear wiser than the actual adult, which is an embarrassment, especially if the story is a coming of age one. Sure, it's funny the 1 or 2 times, but it gets old really fast. And then it becomes a reminder of that one friend in real life who you're convinced is maybe an alcoholic, but will immediately deny any accusation of it. There's something to learn from role model figures. They can provide an experienced point of view for the characters to take away from. Even bad role models can influence individuals to not behave like them. Comic relief characters, though, they lack the capability to provide any meaningful input into a situation. At least with comic relief adults, you can easily take these characters out. Hell, maybe by being dead, their deaths might cause some character development in the main cast. Or is this just some desperate pity towards these individuals? And now, time to shift our focus from tropes about character personalities and quirks to narrative devices. Number 3 is often used to expand the environment the characters live in or to dive deeper into a novel concept. Number 3 helps establish the setting to create a fantastical and wondrous world to explore or to make the world a more realized and lifelike place to live. But there comes a point where descriptions and details stop adding flair and end up feeling pretentious and tiresome. Presenting number 3, overcomplicated info dumping, and related to that, extremely in-depth magic systems. I'm gonna be straight with you. Sometimes I just don't care about the world the characters live in. You can give me an in-depth detailed description about a town and its inhabitants in a JRPG, but the moment I leave that town, I'll remember it as the closest town with a save point. I have a similar feeling about in-depth magic systems. A JRPG could have the most intricate magic system in the world with various strengths and weaknesses, but I would just opt to hit the enemy with the closest blunt object in my hand. Of course, developing places and magic systems is good for world building, and to some people that's an essential part of enjoying the work. Sometimes you'll have some visual novels that will really show off their knowledge on a topic and are really unique, like Baldur's Guy's futuristic dystopian society or Gusaya Phantom Trigger's in-depth gun and military explanations. But at the same time, those details slow the pacing down, and even more so if the reader isn't interested. Yes, I understand, Phantom Trigger, you want to have an extended discussion about the barrel blueprints of a gun, but I'm also kind of tired of reading it for the past 30 minutes. It's slowly killing me inside. That said, visual novels that incorporate sci-fi and fantasy elements have it easier to create a brand new world if they rely on natural common sense. How I like my world building is for the narrative to start off simple and concise enough to follow initially, and then gradually develop it later on in a non-intrusive manner. I'm going to take aim at the Fate franchise here. The original Fate Stay Night has a simple premise. 7 historical figures take part in a battle royale in order to obtain the Holy Grail, a device capable of granting wishes. The straightforward nature of the plot is easy to understand, and the flexibility of using historical figures allows for endless possibilities of unique character interactions. By slowly easing you in, Fate Stay Night continues to unravel the many smaller complex details of how the Fate universe works. There are many magic concepts within the Fate universe, and it's quite the rabbit hole. So when the franchise leaves that contained plot structure and the more relies on pre-existing knowledge that I apparently should know about, called Fate lore, the less I'm inclined to care about it. At its core, it's all about achieving balance between information and plot progression. With proper reason and necessary context, world building can get you more invested into the story. That is, if the story paces itself well and knows when to do so to prevent overloading the readers. Just please treat me nicely on the first date, at least before you unload all of the baggage. Now it's time to cover a touchy subject, one that carries a lot of heavy weight and if improperly used can backfire immediately and leave a nasty impression. Presenting number 2, using rape as a lazy plot device to force drama or conflicts. In almost every single instance I see this, I think to myself, well, I guess this is happening now. Using rape feels like a way to force emotional anger and create shock value. It's bad enough that I have to see a character I like having to go through something like this, but I'm even more skeptical that out of all the possible conflicts the narrative chose, rape was the one that was picked. It's like if the writers were like, we need some way to make the villain even more of a jerk. Anyone got any ideas? How about a violent personality? Nah, that's not enough. We need something more. How about unfair discrimination and bullying? Not enough. Something more shocking. Something that'll get the reader furious. I know. Here, these scenes feel like an abrupt attempt to forcefully create a tense situation, like when Rain gets captured by Gilberto in Baldur's Sky, or to serve as fetish erotica like in I Walk Among Zombies with Yusuke blackmailing Mitsuki in exchange for her food and safety. Or both at the same time, because one dick move wasn't enough. Now that isn't to say that you can't use the act of rape as a plot device. Some characters' personalities are founded from these traumatizing events. Rape can be used as backstory. One of the most important things to consider is the context and meaning behind the act. Ask, what is the purpose of this scene? Does this scene fit the type of narrative? And what is the author's intent in using this? If the event doesn't serve any thematic purpose, then why is it here? Wonderful Everyday Down the Rabbit Hole has some of the most cruelest depictions of its characters. Wonderful Everyday's vicious bullying and morbid sexual content hammers the idea that the world is a terrible and shitty place. But when you reach the game's good endings, Wonderful Everyday shares its message of finding a reason to live for and to live happily. And I'm extremely paraphrasing Wonderful Everyday here. Rape is not a topic anyone should traverse lightly. Usage of rape as a plot device requires proper context, deliberate intent, and mindful execution. Otherwise, it would be better off choosing an entirely different conflict. And we reach number 1 on my list. It's a callback to one of my previous tropes I mentioned before, but the reason why this one's at number 1 is because of how often this appears, the subjective quality of it, and most of all, how much failed potential there is. Ranking at number 1, the main character's comic relief best friend. I really dislike the guy best friend comic relief trope, as they're usually either one of 2 types I've noticed. Either they're really loud, or they're super perverted. Or worse, both at the same time. Like I said before, these comic relief characters serve almost no purpose besides spewing jokes or bearing the brunt of the jokes. But compared to the teacher characters, the best friend character is in almost every single romance visual novel. He's there as a supporting role, but as an example of what not to do. A prime example of this is Genki from Furiraba. From the prologue alone, you can immediately get a glimpse of his character. He's in the same situation as the main character in which he's trying to woo a girl, but he has no redeeming qualities to him, from his lazy attitude, superficial interests, and perverted nature. These qualities are so pronounced that everyone rips on him, and this happens every single time he's on screen. The jokes are also hit or miss depending on your taste in comedy, but considering his loud and brash personality, it becomes a testament of how much you can tolerate his rowdy behavior. This is the entirety of Genki's character. The plot doesn't give him any opportunity to develop as a person, opting to make life miserable for him. And by comparison, his character exists to make the main character look better, even the blank slate main characters. Anytime this type of character appears, it always feels like the same carbon cut copy, which is a shame because the reason why I hate this trope is because there's so much untapped potential in the best friend character. When done well, the best friend can support the main character to allow him to grow up and develop as an individual. Case in point, Kyosuke from Little Busters. Kyosuke comes up with some wacky and absurd ideas, especially when you consider it's a character written by Jun Maeda. But he's still a respectable individual, well suited for his role as leader. The main character Riki admires Kyosuke as a role model and follows in his footsteps. And Kyosuke in return strives to make him a stronger individual in order for him to face the plot twist at the end of Little Busters. I'm not mad at comic relief characters. Well, okay, maybe a little bit. But I'm more disappointed. There's just so much potential with best friend characters, and there's plenty of great examples. It is possible to be funny while also contributing to the main plot. I would like my characters to be actual human beings and not an abused butt monkey. In conclusion, these are the tropes and plot devices that I don't like in visual novels. I wanted to share these with you to let you know what I like and what I don't like, because at the end of the day, if I can help you identify what you like, then I'm content. Let me know what tropes and plot devices you don't like in visual novels. Or if you have a different opinion of the tropes I talked about, please let me know. I would love to hear them. And as always, subscribe if you liked the video and want to see more. Check back every week for new content. For more of my thoughts, you can find me on Twitter at TheAugustHale. Check out some of my other anime visual novel reviews on my channel if you are interested. That's it for today. I'll see you all next time.